ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Still Save Show. We sit down with some of the dopest individuals who have some of the coolest stories of change and transformation on the planet, and something tells me, boy, do I have a story for you today, or perhaps several stories. I don't know. We're
gonna see what come
out.
We're gonna see what come out.
Nah, man, but I'm super delighted to finally be able to meet you in person, June Reese. You got a book around here somewhere. I don't know what happened to my book, but I'm gonna you blessed me with a book. Tell me a little bit about, your company and what you do, and unpack that for me.
So that's the fun part. I'm what they call a multi-hyphenate creative.
I've never heard that before.
It means I have too many jobs. I tell people that all the time. I just have too many jobs.
Right.
So my primary job with my husband, we own the interior design firm House of June Interiors, which is located here in Houston, Texas. And then I'm also the vice president of Black Interior Designers Incorporated, which is a nonprofit, and we specialize in amplifying and creating opportunities and access for Black interior designers.
Love it.
So those are like my two main jobs.
Okay. All right. So the next time I buy a house, I need to be calling you.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Because if it were up to me, I'd have like a mattress on the floor, no coffee table.
And I've been in the house. You just put your coffee table. Now you have a
finally got a coffee table.
No.
I'm joking, but I'm the dude who loves to hang TVs, frame my TVs. I love to hide the wires in the walls, right? The seamless
look. You think about it. You're
so
intentional.
I joke around, but I kind of am a little bougie with it.
Yeah, good. You should be.
Yeah, but I love, man, Trey, I'm so glad you brought your husband with you. You know what I'm saying? How long have you guys been married?
6 years.
Okay, all right.
And we've been together 14, so that's why I hesitate, because people are like, you don't know how long you've been married? I just know the original date.
Yeah, so. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
I love it. It was destined. But so interior design, man, how do you stumble into that industry?
When you say stumble, it's funny you say stumble, because that's the right word, especially for a young Black girl from Brookshire, Texas. Like,
come on, Brookshire.
That's unheard of. So I literally, it's fun. Again, it was him. He's such a part of my story. That's the crazy part, because we were in high school. We didn't have a lot of extracurricular outside of sports, but there was a class he was taking where they were learning a program that was like, that builds houses, and they had to build a house, but they didn't have to do anything else. And I ended up in high school.
Come on.
Okay. And I ended up playing with the platform and just like adding the colors to the wall, stuff like that. And then I kind of moved on from it, because I didn't think anything of it. I didn't know it was a career. So I moved on, and when I got ready to graduate, because I was a terrible student in high school, I'm not ashamed. I was a terrible student in college too, honestly. So I couldn't get into any of the colleges.
So we're not pulling transcripts, right?
We're not pulling transcripts.
God, they don't put your GPA on your degree. You know what I'm saying?
I literally, so I couldn't go to the schools I wanted to go to, and I was on Google, and the Art Institute popped up. Oh yeah, because they the ads were strong, heavy.
Yeah, they heavy.
They're heavy.
They slide into them DMs like
bad. And so I went. I did a tour there, and on like a Thursday or a Friday, and I literally moved on campus, or they had like off campus apartments. Like 2 or 3 days later. So stumbled into interior design, literally.
And then ain't looked back since. Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. What are some of your favorite projects? Like, as an interior designer, because that's such a vague term, right? Like, are there specialties or niches that you like to work with? Like, unpack that a little bit for me.
I wouldn't say especially. I do specialize in residential. That's been my primary, but I am working on a salon here in Houston right now. So that's like my first individual commercial project. So I have a special love for residential, and that's why I went into it right out of school, or even in the middle of school. Because it's really personal. Like, you really connect with the homeowner. Like, a lot of my clients are, we're not friends because we work together, but we are very close. Like,
I mean, you get to come into their home. Let's start there.
I tell people all the time, when I come to your house, I'm going to be in your underwear drawer. Like, we're going to be really tight when it comes down to it.
Let's hope we do laundry first. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, you should. Now, I'm not going to say people do, but,
No. Oh man, I've always felt like a fake interior designer just because I watch HGTV, right?
You're not the only one.
Okay, I'm sure. Do people ever try to do your job for you? Like, why are you hiring me?
They will pay me to try to do my job for me. It happens all the time. You would be surprised, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know. Okay, so let's say, for instance, I was one of your clients, right? And I'm like, hey, I need, I just want to redo my living space, right? Forget the bedroom, just my living space. Like, where would you start? Like, what questions would you ask? What's the process like?
So the process is really, it is a get to know you process. It's literally talking to you about what what your likes are, how you function in the space, what you need to use the space for, etc., etc. Like what is the root of what you're trying to do in this home and what you hope to experience in the home.
Right.
So it's again it's almost spiritual a little bit. Right. A lot of what we do is actually psychology. It's like mostly psychology more than it is actually creative. Okay. The creative part is after we get through all the psychological part.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. No, now you got me even more intrigued, right? Because I'm probably wondering, like, man, maybe it's some stuff in my house right now that's affecting the way I think and how efficient I can be, and possibly the type of mindset I wake up to. Is there some truth in that?
It's 100%. Like, I'm sure people heard of like feng shui.
Right.
Like,
that was
you
the
hear
first
about
thing
that. It's
to
an
mind.
actual thing. We don't use that term, but the way your house is set up, the colors that you have, the organization, what type of, have you put any thought into the things that you're purchasing in there? Like, it has an impact on your mental health, and that's a huge deal for me in my practice, actually, to really talk about that with my clients.
Okay, so all right, this is totally selfish now. We're going on a huge tangent, but as somebody with ADHD who's a multi-hyphenated person, right, multiple jobs, multiple hats, 5 kids, a dog, all types of stuff, right? I've always heard my grandma, I constantly hear my grandmother's voice saying everything needs a home, right? Everything needs a place. And I used to be the most disorganized person on the planet until I started buying like containers and shelves.
You be at the container store?
I don't. It's too expensive.
It is kind of high. So Amazon has similar for
Exactly. Thank you. So how would you recommend somebody with a very quote unquote hectic lifestyle kind of reel that in a little bit?
Kind of what you said, like being intentional. First of all, if you have things that are just overflowing, you probably need to throw something away. Declutter. That's and that's a big one for even us. I'm constantly throwing stuff away. So declutter, because sometimes we keep things, sentimental. If something is sentimental, that's one thing, but then it should also have a place. Like, does it have a drawer? Does it have
an attic?
Somewhere to go. Like, it doesn't need to be in your living room.
Right.
That's all. So just, like you said, putting things away, like being intentional about every single thing that you do and how you feel.
I love it. Yeah, if I ain't worn this in 6 months to a year, I probably don't need it in the closet.
Yep. Literally.
All right, you walking down my street. I'm just saying, like, you all up in my business now. Talk to me about, let's transition before I air too much of my dirty laundry.
Literally.
Speaking of that, I need to go get my dryer fixed. Side note, that's that ADHD working. Let's talk about the book, man, because that is super dope. Hold on, I gotta grab it.
And it's so funny. I'm like, my nail just popped off.
Oh Lord. So Trey, we on the way to the nail salon after this. I'm just saying. All right, so iconic home. Interiors, advice, and stories from 50 amazing Black designers. Okay, dope. So this is more than just like pictures of really cool designs. I mean, you got stories. Talk to me about the layout of the book. Like, how did this, like the inspiration behind it? This is a dope book too, by the way. Like, this is legit. This ain't something that you just threw together.
Oh, no. That's an understatement. Man. I'm very much a perfectionist. I tell people all the time, like, in the middle of that book, I ended up going to therapy. Like, I knew I needed to go before, but it pushed me over the edge, like, because I am very much a perfectionist. I had to learn to step away from that. So that's as close to perfection as you're probably going to get. And even there, to me, I'm like, everybody's like, it's perfect. There is like 10 things I would change. Funny enough,
I'm sure.
But it's beautiful, and I know that it's beautiful. And so I was literally just kind of inspired by my own experiences. Okay. Honestly, once George Floyd was murdered, 2020 was a huge year for everybody.
Absolutely.
There were so many people that were like, hey, how can we help with the nonprofit? What can we do? What are you thinking? And someone offered the opportunity to do a book. So I'm like, okay. Sure, this was on the bucket list for at some point later in life. I had no plans. Right. But God's time, it is always much different than what we think. And so, they reached out. I kind of dwelled on it a little bit.
How did they reach out? Like, why did they reach out? Like, you kind of just strolled through that real quick.
It was a lot of white guilt going on during 2020. We all know it, right? That's just what it was. And people were, so they, and they wanted to help. They're like, hey, how can we help amplify? How can we help, your mission and what you're doing? And so they reached out tons of people, right? The amount of people I talked to in 2020 via Zoom is disrespectful. Honestly, it was crazy. And so the book, it literally it was like, what can I create that I would have needed when I was back in Brookshire. Didn't know that this was a career. What would I have needed earlier in my career when the only people I saw in this profession didn't look like me?
Right.
And that was kind of the ethos in the beginning of that.
Okay. No, that's dope because I noticed the table of contents, right? And so you're highlighting some very, very, I'm sure, like sought after designers, right?
Dope.
Like, are these all people you know?
It's kind of a variety. Anything that we do at BID, the nonprofit, we mix in. So there are people at really high level celebrity status. There are people who are still needing that, amplification in there because then it gives them the opportunity to be seen, by all these people. So it's a combination.
Dope. That's super, super like humble. And I tell people that's the cheat code too. A lot of times people are very, very protective over their like trade secrets and stuff like that. And they don't want to partner with people or help lift somebody else up. Yeah. I even saw Pastor Mike Todd from Transformation Church out in Oklahoma. He did that just before Easter. He was like, hey, listen, we're one church. Everybody can't come to our church. He's like, there's so many dope churches across the country. And he started naming like in his post
because it's room for everybody. Yeah. It's room for everybody. Like it doesn't require that. That's what people were very surprised by. They're like, you featured 49 because I'm the 50th black designer, but there's 49 other people. I'm like, yeah, why not? Yeah. Why wouldn't I? When I had the opportunity to.
That's a very biblical model too. Like Jesus even said it, like the greatest among you will be the least. The first will be the last, right? Or the last will be the first.
Exactly.
And he came and he really flipped that paradigm, that hierarchy where everybody's clawing and trying to get to the top. And he was like, listen, the greatest among you will be the servant. Literally. I'm telling you, service is truly the secret to success.
It's the secret. I'm telling you, and it's not something that I thought I would be doing. It's not something I plan to be doing. And I will get to that story in a little bit. It's just, it's another thing I stumbled into.
Well, let's get to that story now, man. Because I'm just saying, like, I mean, it seems amazing, right? Living downtown, author, NAACP awards, you know what I'm saying? All this stuff. But growing up in Brookshire, Texas, right? And a lot of y'all probably don't know what Brookshire is, but it's right outside of Katy. If you're driving down I-10, you blink and you miss it.
Pass through it, you blow through it.
Yeah. But talk to me, man. Take me back because I'm pretty sure it hasn't always been this pretty.
No, for sure. And I always say, because I do a lot of TikTok and stuff, and I have to be clear about that because I'm an advocate for the Black community. I'm an advocate for people that are in underserved communities. I didn't grow up at the bottom. They're like we talked about earlier. My family, my grandparent was in the military. My uncles were in the military. My dad was the technical hardware analyst for the city of Houston for a decade. Like, I didn't grow up struggling necessarily, but I did grow up around people who did. And so for me growing up, right, you grow up in this place, and regardless of what you have, the place is still the place. And it's not to knock my hometown, right? But small towns are small towns. And there's a small town mindset. There's 100 songs about it. So I'm not saying anything new. Right. So you grew up in this place, and for the most part, I should have just been a pharmacist, what my dad wanted me to be, or a sports broadcast journalist, which is what my mama wanted me to be.
Pretty noble careers.
Noble careers. Nothing wrong with those, but I always knew, like, even in school, we go to these schools and we don't have a lot of activities. That class he took was like a one-off. I don't think it's still there, but we just, we're there, and you can do one or two things. Maybe go to college, maybe not. And if not, get you a good job and you're good to go. So I don't know how or why, but that place always felt too small for me. And it was really weird. Even as a kid, I just knew I was supposed to be doing something bigger. And so I went to high school. Like I said, I struggled in high school. Because I wasn't a math or science person. I was a creative. And when you go to a math and science-based high school, you feel out of place. You feel like, you're not doing good enough. You're struggling, but it's just that the things that you're learning don't interest you.
Exactly. Or you don't learn how to like connect the dots. Like, why do I need this math? Exactly. Right? Like, why are we introducing letters into
math that I haven't used since? Might I add? I do use math. I will say that in my profession, we don't have a choice.
For sure, of course.
But it's basic math. Once I could have been done in the 3rd or 4th grade and still be good to go. So just it was again, and not a terrible place. It's a beautiful place. There are still beautiful people there. But it was just one of those places where you might get stuck there. And if the few of us do leave and we do something different. And so I went to college, and again, pretty easy time. That's why I always say I didn't struggle. I'm not the one that's going to pretend like, oh, I came from this and my life was this and that. It wasn't
really
that.
Dramatize the story. I feel
it wasn't that. Like, my daddy paid for my first car when I went to college. My mama paid for school for me. But I think the struggle part for me, because there was struggle, right? You don't get to this point without it being hard in some capacity. And so I struggled because, one, I was in a predominantly white field. I came from Brookshire, which was kind of a mixed place. So honestly, my first experiences with racism was literally like college. Like I can remember the day almost down to it. The first time I experienced something where it was like blatant and I understood it as racism.
Yeah.
And so that was in addition to college, because again, I was not good at school. I went to school on and off for years.
Because
I
that's
still don't have
what you
a degree.
do, right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't good. I'm already struggling in school. That was another stress factor. There was just a lot of things that happened. That's again how things like this book are birthed, because I went through so many things, just not only trying to get into the profession, but there are doors, there are brick walls in some of these industries, especially an industry where people typically had money. Because I didn't have money. Like, I wasn't wealthy growing up. And so college was really, really rough. And at one point, I feel like I started college in 2011. And then around 2013, 14, I started kind of working. Funny enough, the first person I worked for, a white woman, amazing, Deborah Sabrasula, love her. We're still friends on Facebook today. She was in Simonton, Texas, which is literally like I'm at the Art Institute in Houston, and somehow I get an internship with the lady that's, right there by my hometown. And so that was it's
like full circle. It's coming back home.
I was like, well, how does that work? So I ended up, being out there, and that was really helpful because I was still kind of going back and forth to my hometown. And so I was working right there. Yeah. And so that was great. Fast forward to about 2016, I want to say. That's where it got like, I don't know what was going on with me at that point. I think it was just a transition. God, like I talk about God's timing all the time if you go down my timeline. Because I feel like a little bit like my guardian angel was just dragging me by my hair. Yeah. You're dragging me by my hair like, girl, come over here. Come over here.
Just
do
a little hard-headed.
Just a little hard-headed.
Is that the case, Trey? Like, I'm just saying, like, can I get a
He's like, absolutely.
I ain't trying to get you in trouble, dog.
He's been there. I'm like, and I tell people all the time, if it wasn't for him, like it's not because of him, but because of him, it's been easier. Because this is the hard road, but it was definitely easier having somebody every step of the way to be with me and to support me. Like there were times we were living on Highway 6, and he was delivering pizza, and I was in and out of work because I was trying to figure out what it is I was doing, and I would just sneak up to his job and ride around with him delivering pizza. Like there were times. That's why I say there was struggle because you want to be grown, you going to get your bills because you think that's what you want to do. But once I got past all that into 2016, I don't even know where you get past all that. It's again dragging me by my hair. So in 2016, I got to a point. I hit that point where I was like,
God don't play about his kids and his plans
at all.
And it's like I'm gonna let you wild out for a little bit, but at some point we gotta get to work.
Right, like literally rein it in. So I'd always had jobs, and I would quit jobs. Like when you're not supposed to be somewhere.
Yes.
And in 2016, I think my grandfather passed. And so I ended up not going back to the job I was at when I stopped going because I was already stressed. I didn't want to be there. Like I knew it wasn't right for me, but I kept going. And it was like, that was the moment where, I don't know, I had a pretty, bad episode of depression at that point. And because it was just so many things going on. Like I felt like I wasn't in the right place.
Right.
My grandpa had just passed, who was kind of like a father figure for me because my mom and dad were separated when I was growing up. And I just, by 2016, I kind of fell out of school again. And that was part of the reason I know now that I was in and out of school is because I was also going through depression, anxiety, things like that. And those episodes would cause me to just not want to do anything.
Oh, trust me, I know.
I
feel like the covers are like 100 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
You don't want to get up out your bed.
And you don't know why. You're like, what's wrong with me? And so you go through that, and I ended up meeting. This is the story. This is how this book became. This is how we got here.
This is what you came for.
This is what you came for. Because, it still blows me today, honestly. Wow. So 2016, my grandfather passed. I didn't go back to that job, and I was kind of just unemployed. That was a rough period for us. And I ended up in a Facebook group.
Okay.
I was trying to find a job. I left school again, but I'd still been in school for a few years. So at that point, I was qualified to do a few things.
Yeah.
But we're in Texas, and again, this industry is gatekept.
Yeah.
I probably went on like 14 interviews, I think, or at least. I did not get any callbacks. So I'm frustrated. You know, my name.
And these interviews were like interior design companies trying to get
showroom,
into the industry. Yeah.
You know, not anything crazy. Like nothing you need a degree for. Somebody in their second year of college could do them. Like jobs that I knew I was qualified for. And so my name on paper, I laugh about that too now, because even at the beginning of doing design work, I would get that, like, my name on paper is Ashley June. So, you know, people don't know what to expect until I walk in the room. So I feel like I got a lot of callbacks because my resume is great, my name is great. And then I get in the room and you can kind of see that look like, oh, I didn't realize it was you.
I wasn't expecting Ashley. This wasn't the Ashley June I was expecting.
To come through the door. And I'm like, okay. Man. So I was frustrated. I've been in on Facebook. Long paragraph. I think I still have it somewhere. And I ended up in a Facebook group called Black Female Interior Designers, and they had a guest speaker.
Okay.
And his name was Christopher Charles. Now, once you go to my website and you go to BID, you'll see that Christopher Charles is now my treasurer for the nonprofit. Yeah. But at the time, I didn't know him. And he just said, if anybody needs anything, reach out. Okay. So I reached out to Christopher. I still have it, long DM. I mean, I dropped all my dirty laundry in this man's DM. And because I was just frustrated. And then he said, hey, you know, give me a call. Let's talk through it. We talked through it. He was, you know, he understood because he's been, you know, in this field for a few years. And he asked me if I had heard about this conference that was in Atlanta called the Black Interior Designers Network Conference. Okay. BIDN is what BID Inc. used to be. We transitioned last year. And so I'm like, yeah, but I can't afford to go to Atlanta. So he was like, okay, well, maybe I can get your ticket to the conference. My mom ended up paying for my flight. And I think I had like $180.
Yeah,
not even
to survive in Atlanta. So you wasn't doing none of the things, right, in Atlanta? Well, never.
First of all, I had never been on a flight before. I had never flown anywhere. Yeah. So my first flight ever in my life was to Atlanta. I think I might have been 24 or 25 at this point. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, don't drop me in Atlanta at 24.
With no money, though?
Well, yeah.
It's like the Hunger Games. I got to Atlanta. First of all, I got there super early because I didn't know, you know, I don't know. The flight was cheap. That was what I had to take. So I got there early. My roommate, the person stranger, who I didn't know that I was splitting a room with, because, you know, you can't afford those $400 a night rooms by yourself. She wasn't coming until later. And so I was like, oh, I'll just go to the hotel. Fine. No. I get to the hotel. Her flight gets delayed. So she was supposed to be there at noon. It was probably 9 a.m. when I arrived. Yeah. It's hot in Atlanta, number one. It was July. Oh, yeah. So I tried to walk down the street, and I'm just like, it's like sweltering out here. So I end up going back, and I'm trying to be, you know, conscious with my money. So I go to Starbucks.
That's what you do when you conscious with your money? Lord.
You gotta eat. So I go to Starbucks.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been my first choice.
Where would you go to eat?
I don't went to the to the gas station or somewhere where I could have got a coffee for like $2 or something, not $7.
That was probably my first mistake. Now that you think about it, because wait till I get to the end of the story.
Speaking of which, I still drink gas station coffee. My friends make fun of me all the time.
And you love it. I drink my coffee at home, so
that too. When I do, anyway,
No, both of us.
We could talk about coffee all day. Anyway,
I will go off a tangent too. So
she said, "I'm budgeting. I gotta go to Starbucks."
Gotta go to Starbucks. Well, the reason that I went to Starbucks is because it was attached to the hotel. Okay, honestly, it was just because I was stressed. I was stressed, and I was like, I tried to walk down the street. Peachtree is as long as I don't know what in Atlanta in July. So I go to Starbucks. I ended up meeting this older lady, Crystal, from Philadelphia, which still love Miss Crystal to this day. And I must look like a deer in headlights because I feel like she just kind of approached me. Like, are you going to the conference? And I'm like, yeah. She just started talking to me. And so I kind of spent the day with her, and that brought me some comfort. That evening was so funny. It's, again, all these things I think about now because it's crazy to think about all these people like Michelle Boyd, Nikki Chu, just Tiffany Brooks. Tiffany Brooks is big on HGTV. She's been on HGTV for years. Yeah. All these people are in this space. They decked out. I had on like a Burlington blazer and some jeans. And I was just like, oh, I'm so underdressed. First of all, I had packed a little carry-on anyway because I couldn't afford to check a bag.
I still travel like that.
Yeah, and now I'm back there. Now I'm like one pair of shoes, one outfit, but it's different because I'm choosing to travel
it's a choice
like that.
Now. Back then it wasn't a choice. We was just trying to make
it. So I was like, okay, I'm out of place. So I already felt out of place, but there were a lot of kids there, so it was good. We fast forward. There was a woman, Kim Ward, who was the founder of BIDN, which is now BID Inc. Okay. She passed away in 2017. but I met her there in 2016. And so my plan was to go up to Kim and ask her to help me with blogging because she had a really huge blog at the time.
Yep.
Right? I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. I got enough liquid courage in my system on day 2. And I walked up to her.
We ain't talking about Starbucks no more.
No, we talking about the free drinks because I couldn't even afford to buy drinks. I think I bought 1 drink the entire time I was in Atlanta out of my pocket, and it was overpriced because it was at the hotel. And so I walked up. I said, I really would love for you to help me out with blogging after this. And she was like, yeah, you could write for me, like just like that. She didn't know me, so at this point now, there's Christopher who's helped me. Doesn't know me, doesn't actually know me, and then Kim Ward, who's helped me, doesn't know me. Still, deer in headlights at this point because this is a whole new experience for me, right? I had barely been outside of Brookshire, let alone in Atlanta at a cocktail party in a 5-star hotel. So it was that was the wildest thing. And she said yes, and after, by the time I got to the end of the trip, that's the funniest part to me. In Atlanta, I stayed with 2 strangers.
Okay.
One was Chantel. Love Chantel still to this day. And then by the end, Chantel was leaving early, but my flight, the cheapest flight, was for the next day. So I couldn't leave when Chantel left. And I ended up staying with Jazz. But by the time I got to her hotel room on the last night, I was like, girl, I'm going to have to send you your $40 when I get home.
Yeah.
When I get my check, my next check or something, because it's just not going to happen. So really cool. I think I ended up paying her back at some point. But so that's how my trip to Atlanta went. The $180 lasted me 2.5 days. So
come on,
I did
$180. That's a whole nother advice that we need is how you stretch $100.
How do you stretch $180?
Yes.
So if you're going to a conference, most of the meals are free. So hack. Most of the time the meals are free. At least your breakfast and your lunch. So really you only have to buy like 1 meal. And you just get some, surprise.
But that's crazy though, because there's so many nuggets that I can pull from that story. For one, you walk by faith and just went, right? There's so many obstacles and so many things that people could have used as fear to prevent them from going. Like you said, there were some insecurities there. Like, man, I feel underdressed. I don't feel like I belong. But there was some sense of belonging as well. You know what I mean? But it was so many things that could have stopped you from going. Man, I don't know how I'm going to get out there, or can't get the tickets. But look, closed mouth don't get fed.
Okay.
All you did was approach somebody and say, hey, I really want to go. They end up blessing you with a ticket. It's crazy how God...
It is crazy because I wasn't expecting him to say that. I was like, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking. I was just looking for advice because I wanted to figure out what direction I should be going. I was getting ready to go do something else entirely. So that again, when I say God is like, no, here, come over here.
It tends to be like that. It's almost like right when you're on the verge of giving up.
Exactly.
It's like you're almost there.
You're at your wit's end.
Yeah, at your wit's end. And you got to make this one terrifying decision. Knees shaking. It's like Eminem and what's the song? Lose Yourself. Arms are sweaty. Palms are sweaty.
No, seriously.
This is your moment. Own it.
That
Never
was
let
the
it
theme
go.
of my 20s. Palms sweaty.
But you make the decision. You go. What was the most transformative lesson you learned? I'm sure there was so many, right? So many connections. But what was one thing that you pulled from that, that experience that truly changed?
I think, like you said, for me, it was to do it scared. And so I adopted that, and every single thing we've done from that point has been to just do it scared. Like when Kim passed in 2017, Kia is my coworker. She's the president of BIDN Inc. She took over there, and I worked with her. Neither one of us had any experience in building a nonprofit. Since then, we worked with Condé Nast, Kohler, Benjamin Moore, the Shade Store. Somehow, right? God, we know it's only God could put us in a position of a place where we have no experience, and for us to actually excel at it. Yeah. Which then led to that. And Iconic Home was another one of Kim's babies. Before she died, so it's crazy. The craziest part, I think, of everything with Kim is that we didn't know she was dying. She did know, but she wasn't telling everybody. Right. But she was so intentional, and I'm glad I remembered to say this because I talk about this at all of my panels and signings and everything. She was so intentional before she was dying. She was in pain. She was obviously in pain. We just didn't know. I was young. Yeah. Kia was young. We weren't thinking about that. We were just having a good time. But we went to High Point Market, which is this huge, it's literally a city, and it's full of furniture. And so that's where designers go once a year. And she took us there, and she took me to Atlanta. So remember, I had never flown before I went to Atlanta. From the time I met Kim, in 2016, there has not been a time where I haven't taken at least 6 flights a year And that's like light. I'm probably at a 1 a month at this point type of flights. And so she took me to Atlanta. She came back here to Houston. She came to our house. She stayed at my house. And we talked about things like Iconic Home and what she maybe dreamed of. And I took notes, but again, I wasn't taking it that serious.
Yeah.
And then she passed away. And, there were a few years where, again, we were getting our foot in, trying to figure out what's going on. But it really falls on me how intentional she was, because she literally was prepping Kia to be the president of this organization. She was prepping me to be this writer. She always was like, you'll be so great on TV. And I'm like, girl, what? Me? Like, I don't see that. Like, she definitely saw something in me that I for sure didn't see early on. And so just being intentional has, again, another thing that has stuck with me. Like, be really intentional about every single thing that you create.
Yeah. Man, I love that, though. Do it scared and be intentional. Like, that's the thing. It never stops getting scary.
No, it never stops. I'm still scared.
Shoot, as a DJ, as an entertainer, as a host, I've been on some crazy stages, right? 75,000 people, 5,000 or 500, right? And I don't care, like, how big the milestone. Each time you do something, you still feel that nervousness, right? Yeah. And those butterflies, and it's like, all right, but you still got to do it.
Every single time, do it anyway.
Yeah. Most of the time, I've learned to lean into that. It's almost like the scarier it is, I'm like, this is going to be fun.
Exactly. That's the one you do. If it terrifies you, dive head first into that, because that book terrified me.
Really? Why? Why did it terrify you?
Again, that's something that I'm like, I'm not qualified for this. Even when I became vice president of BID, I didn't feel qualified. Like, it was never my intention to be the vice president of a nonprofit organization, but I had been with Kia for so long. And when she was looking for somebody, she called me. I was in New York, and she was like, "What do you think about you being VP?" And I'm like, okay. Like, again, everybody
on my radar.
Wasn't on my radar, but cool. And so it took me a little while to get familiar with that position, because it's different to work in the background and to lead an entire group of people. Like, that's different. And so that's something that I was terrified to do, this book, because this is something that's out in the world. And I think it's also taken me from a place of being scared of being judged. Because when you put something out like that, it's going to be judged. Like, everybody's going to judge it. Artists, that's how art works. And so, again, I just do it anyway. Now, that's the next thing I'm conquering, is being online, showing my face, and things like that. And I just do it, do it, and try to be intentional about it.
I love it. And that's what I love about God too. He doesn't call the qualified; He qualifies the call. Right? And I'm like, and He leads you. My thing is, one of my favorite sayings: if He called me to it, He's gonna or what's the word? If it's in His will, He'll foot the bill.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
He will foot the bill, because when we started this company in 2019. He probably, I said, I know you think I'm crazy, but he quit his job. He quit his job. I was already contracting for other firms. And
How'd that make you feel, though?
I wasn't scared at that point, right? I had already
some crazy faith right there.
Conquered a few things. I was like, all right, we gonna, it always works out. I know that now, and that's what I go by now too. I hardly panic. Even if we have 2 months where we don't make any money, it's gonna be fine. Like, I know that because it happens. That's how entrepreneurship works. Right?
That's blessing me right now, because you think about it. If you did it before, he'd do it again. But sometimes you gotta lean on those stories. Honestly, that just reminded me why we do this, right? Why this show exists, right? Because I know that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And as we continue to tell these stories, because some people, they may not have that faith story yet. They might not have that first experience to Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Or conquering that first fear. And they've let their fear stop them from making the decisions. And so I'm like, hey, if we can continue to tell these stories, if they don't have a story yet, they can lean on the stories of others until they get their own. And then as they continue to overcome things, it makes overcoming something else just a little bit easier.
Just a little easier. And eventually you get to the point where you like, it doesn't even matter. If I want to do it, I'm going to do it. Like, that's where I'm at now. I tell, and I say it all the time, there is nothing I can't do. If I wanted to fly a plane, I could fly a plane if I wanted to learn how to do it. Like, there is not one thing on this earth that I couldn't conquer if I don't want to. I'm fully aware of that now, and I think that makes people dangerous. Like, I realize that it makes you dangerous when you know that no matter what you do, as long as God called you to do it and it's out of alignment for you, it will go the way it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go. It goes the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah, it never does. I'd be like, dang, God, I never would have thought about that.
Like, what?
You know what I'm saying? Like, that didn't make no sense,
with
Lord.
The NAACP award,
yes.
That's again, because somebody DM'd me. And they were like, did you know you were nominated for an award?
You probably didn't even believe it, did you?
I was like, I had to go to the website. I'm like, what? What award? Because I didn't know. That wasn't my goal. That wasn't what I was doing. I've been operating out of alignment for a while now, since Atlanta, because that's when I realized, like, just go with the flow. Do what's supposed to be doing. And the things that's supposed to happen. And that's one of those things. I was like, oh, the accolade is great. I didn't create it for it, but it's nice.
I heard this analogy one time. I think it was Dr. Tony Evans, right, up in Dallas. And he said that God is like the rudder of a ship. You know what I'm saying? And you can't steer. He can't steer an immobile vessel. So it's up to us to move, and he'll steer us. And then he used another analogy. He said that some time ago in the church, in order to save money, they installed those motion detectors for the lights, right? Because they were wasting tons and tons of money on electricity, right? And so the way they work, obviously, is the lights don't come on. The power isn't activated unless they sense motion. You feel me? That's so you gotta move. God is like, hey, you have access to all the power in the world,
but you have to move.
But you gotta move.
That thing that God puts on your heart over and over again, because the book was in my notes. I posted it too. If you go to my Instagram, 2019, April 2019, I wrote Iconic Home Coffee Table Book down.
The title and everything.
I knew it was gonna be Iconic Home. I didn't know what anything else, nothing else that I knew. And it's just like you said, I just kept moving. I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. I was working for BID, and for the most part, BID is an unpaid, job because it's a nonprofit. So I was doing what I was supposed to do, even if it wasn't making me money. And that's how you get to those things. Like, do the thing. If it's on you over and over again, especially before you go to sleep when you wake up in the morning, that's the thing.
Here's my thing, man. And this, I don't know how effective this is, but I be putting it all back on God, right? Like when God tell me to do crazy things, I be like, all right, bet, I'm gonna go do it. I'm gonna go do it. And if it mess up, Lord, it's your fault. It's on you. I be like, in Jesus, like that's why I be in Jesus' name. I be like, this on you, Lord. Like I'm gonna publicly say, and it's like, nah, it's up to you to make sure you don't look bad.
So this was your plan. You said I need to be doing this. That's literally how I had to see it with the nonprofit. I was like, you told me this what you want me to be doing. All right, let's figure it out.
I love it. But you mentioned something too about, the next scary thing, and that's becoming like the face and being online, and this is a part of that. But you got a pretty dope event coming up, that I'm kind of partially excited about. You know what I'm saying?
I'm excited because I can't wait to hear from you, full.
Hey, ain't no telling what's gonna happen. Look, I don't know. This is a regular kid from the southwest side of Houston, Texas.
Aren't we all? We just regular kids. I'm just a girl. I said all the time, I'm not special. I tell people that I'm not special. Anybody, you can do any bigger things than me, and vice versa.
Yep, I was same little knucklehead, hanging out in front of the corner store, drinking from the water hose, playing basketball. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing special about exactly. But talk to me about this event that we got coming up. And kind of the inspiration behind that.
So it is the Visionaries Branch. And it's, again, one of those things. Everything that I create now, because I am intentional, is based on either something I needed, I knew I could have benefited from, or making somebody else's life easier.
I love it.
If I can do those two things, and anything that I do, I know I did what I was supposed to be doing. And so we talk about entrepreneurship, right? People are starting to talk about the ugly parts, but let's talk about it a little more. And not just the ugly parts. We're going to talk about the good stuff, the finances, the mental health. But really being honest and real with people who are coming into this and giving them that kind of leg up for their journey. That's the goal of the Visionaries Brunch. It's literally about for people who dream big. We are, you dream big, but sometimes that dream, is scary. There are a lot of other things that come with that dream. And so I want us to create a space where people can come and learn from those of you, like Miss Nikki Handy and Taj, who runs All Access, who are doing things at like really high levels, because that's, you trying through it, and we all just figuring it out. I say it all the time. We're still all winging it.
Figuring it out.
But for the most part, we've done it and been successful at it. And so I want people to hear from us because, again, they need to hear the stories. Like you just said, the same reason you do this.
No, straight up. And I have a friend, and I kind of adopted this philosophy. We would go to schools, right? Like high schools, sometimes middle schools, but mostly like high schools and colleges, and we would talk about entrepreneurship. And he used to tell me, he's like, man, Dave, when I go here, my main goal is to try to convince as many people not to become entrepreneurs. And I was like, Dave, bro, what you mean, dog? Like, that's not what we're here for. We're supposed to encourage and empower and inspire. He was like, no. He's like, entrepreneurship is so scary. It is so hard. It is so difficult that if one human being, can convince you not to be an entrepreneur, you already weren't cut out for it. He was like, if my words can stop you from doing what it is that you want to do, you ain't ready. It's going to be that one kid in the back, though, after I share all these scary stories and all the pain and all the cons, and he's still like, no, I'm going to do it. That's the one.
That's the one because
because when life comes and tries to kick, because he's like, man, it's gonna be some things in this journey. It's gonna be way worse than the words that I'm about to tell you.
Yep.
And you got to be ready.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, that's the realest thing ever.
That's so real.
Because everything tries to come and knock us off, from taxes to crazy clients to market shifts and the competitors, not the good competitors, right?
The ones that undercut,
the shady, the wolves in sheep's clothing.
It's all kinds, especially in my profession, because this is a high ticket profession, and a lot of people deal with that in ours. And I try to also again be intentional about that with my clients. Like I want my clients. I think I adopt the same mindset anyway. My mama told me this, and this again something y'all need to take with y'all.
Come on,
to treat everybody how you want to be treated. And it's such a simple concept, but it has allowed me to retain clients. Like when I was writing my book, I wasn't marketing our company. Like I wasn't doing. I had clients that I started working with when we first started the company, and literally every single one of those clients has started up something new over the last couple of years. So I've worked with a couple of new people and started in, but for the most part, I've just worked with the same clients because I treat everybody how I want to be treated. Yeah. That's a game changer. And I'm gonna piggyback on that, right? Because we know that that's scripture, right? But and I learned this from my ex-wife, who's super, super dope. She was like, Dave, that's cool, that's fine and dandy, but I don't want you treating me like you want to be treated, because what you like, I don't like. I need you to treat me the way that I want to be treated. Like, don't treat me like that.
Right? Like you cool with going to like Whataburger, and she was like, but that ain't me.
That don't work for you.
That ain't working out. She loved Whataburger, but no. But I learned that lesson from her too. Like, cause I'm very carefree, happy-go-lucky. Don't much bother me. Don't much move me. But there are other people who require just a little bit extra attention. But if you start with treating people the way you want to be treated, it'll take you off
the rest of it. Exactly. In like the base principle way. In the base principle way. Because you're right. There are some people that you could treat them.
Everybody don't want to be treated like Dave. No, just playing. I'm just playing. Man, you posted something the other day, and I don't know how long ago. I was just doing my normal like stalking routine.
To get ready.
And it was a super dope post, right? You was just like walking around my own house in mini heels and silk pajamas. All 2024, right? Sounds like the life. But then you said something in the caption that really blew my mind. You was like, instead of setting goals or resolutions this year, I decided on lifestyle changes that contribute to being the best version of myself. Lifestyle change number 2, romanticizing my life. Yeah. What does that mean?
Oh my God, the drama. You did your homework for sure. So romanticizing your life, I'm gonna talk about that. It's kind of like being dramatic, honestly, like treating your life like it's a movie a little bit.
Okay.
Like, because that's something you see in movies, right? The nanny walking around in heels and a house coat. Like, we don't do stuff like that. For the most part, I will be in my pajamas all day. Because I've been working from home for so long. It's hard. Exactly. I'll put on the top and just have on my sleep pants and have a BIDN. So now I'm like, okay, well, at least I can elevate. At least I got on pants. I learned that lesson early in the pandemic. Because you'd be surprised how many people underwear we saw.
Man, yes, that was an interesting time.
It was an interesting time because people weren't used to it. So, but I was so used to just being. I would get out of bed, make my breakfast, eat. Like I literally wouldn't do anything. And so, romanticizing my life for me, because it doesn't look the same for everybody. Yeah. You have to figure out what that looks like for you. But it's just like getting up, washing my face, doing my skincare routine, drinking my water. Like before I do anything else. And then just putting a little bit of thought into how I look. Even if I am wearing my pajamas, I'm going to wear the silk. And I'm going to put on the little heels because that's a way for me to feel more.
It's a game changer.
It's a game changer.
Yeah. One of the things I learned was make my bed.
That one.
It's like, if I don't do nothing else, I'm going to make my
the bed. Yeah.
At least I did one productive thing today. And I can hold my head up high, chest up. I did that.
Yeah. Check that out.
I made that bed. I put the throw pillows on there, right?
That's his favorite movie.
Yeah. I did that. I tied that.
Yeah.
I need something to be proud of, dog, because it's a lot of things out there to be trying to knock you off, man. No,
you have to. It's the little things that that are really the things that make you happy, that make you experience joy every single day. Like you said, knock that bed off your to-do list, wipe your counter down or something.
Yeah, that's a lesson. I don't know where I got this from. There's no name or theory or phrase behind it, but it really is the little things that matter. And as a kid like me, I used to always look for the home runs, right? The home runs in business, the home runs in relationships, the home home run, just like always the big things, right? The things that we could post on social media, even before social media was a thing.
Yep.
I want the $1 million deals, and God used to be like, bro, just get on base.
It's okay.
Like, just get a bunt every now and then. You feel me? Like, why you always swinging for the fences, and then I end up striking out?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Just get on base.
Yeah.
Like, that's the truth. And the little, again, those little things, they add up. And if you start to see joy in those too, it's so many things I've learned in this journey. Gratitude is, but aside from doing it scared, it's one of the most powerful things tools I have in my arsenal. I wake up every single morning. I thank God for being awake. I thank him for giving me the opportunity to be able to create things that people need. I thank God for giving me the knowledge, because I have infinite knowledge, just continuous knowledge about things I don't need to, I think I don't need, but I'm grateful. Like, I'm grateful for every step of the way. Like I say, even when we have our slow months, I'm grateful because I can still eat and pay my bills and for the most part do what I want to do. Where, where we used to be, like I said, dragging our bed up the sidewalk because we couldn't afford a mover, or riding the bus downtown to come to school. Like, it's it's been there. So,
and I don't care who it is. Like, I ask everybody this question because I'm always fascinated by people's journeys, right? And I don't care who you are. You could be a pastor. You could be an artist. I've sat down with, entertainers. I've sat down with moms, right? Like, you name it. This question doesn't discriminate. And the reason why I ask it is because everybody I sit down with is dope, right? Clearly.
Yep.
And, highly intelligent. You operate at a high level. And I'm going to be real. Like, a lot of the success that many of us achieve, we can do it without God. And people will be like, oh, I can't believe he said that. But truth be told, like, there's some stuff, like, it doesn't take God. You don't need God to make $1 million. Like, I'm going to just be real. True. However, the success that I've heard you achieve has been there have been some supernatural aspects of it. And your human ingenuity has helped you get there. But there's been another component that it was like, that was all God. So I just want to know, like, how has your faith propelled the success that you now experienced? Like, not your, like you said, like, I went to school, dropped out several times, so we can't give credit to that. We can't give credit to a large lump sum of some money that came out of nowhere, right? Or whatever. Like, how has your faith impacted the success that you now have?
Ooh, such a good question. I say it's interesting because you said we don't need God, right? And I'm like, I'm a firm believer in God. Like, I believe in God. I grew up a Christian. I'm not as much a Christian anymore. I know people hate when people say, like, I'm more spiritual than religious nowadays. I have to admit that. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I actually study all religion.
Straight up.
And so the way that the faith, like me trying to put it into words, it's like I can tell you what it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of... What is it? I think I talked about this in my close friends the other day. So my faith at this point is so strong. This is a good example of that. We were at the NAACP Awards. We went to the after party. And again, that's one of those trips. It was short notice. It's expensive to go to LA anyway. So it was kind of like a 50, like, do I go to LA? But I was something, it's like, you need to go. Like, I needed to go to Atlanta. You need to go here.
Yeah.
And so when I know, exactly, I know. I don't hear a voice when it comes to God. I know something. Like, I can feel it in my gut, because your mind is in your gut. That's a whole nother thing. So we went to LA and we went to the party, the after party, crazy. Because it's full of celebrities, right? That I have never been around. I know you like, I'll be around celebrities all the time. I hadn't been around celebrities.
It ain't that glamorous. Don't let Instagram fool you.
That's what everybody says. But
I'll be around kids.
I'll be around kids all day. So not Bobby Brown and Keke Palmer, because I spazzed when I saw Bobby Brown. He was like, it's time to go. He was like, it's time to go. So we went to the party. And I just knew that I was supposed to make connections at the party. Again, I don't know why. I don't know anybody. It's just us. But I knew I was supposed to make connections at the party. We went to the party. We made a lap. And we were leaving. And he said, I need to go to the restroom. And at that moment, I felt it again. It was like, you're supposed to be standing right here. And I turned around. And there was one seat on this sofa. Okay. One seat. And I went to the girl, I sat down, and we started talking. I was like, what it, blah, blah, blah. She ended up introducing me to two people.
Come on.
One of them, I just had my first mentorship call with him Friday. And he works on the writing for the award show, but he's also done Unsung. He worked on HGTV. He was one of the first Black producers to work for HGTV. Yeah. And so when it comes to my faith, it's in me, because again, God is in all of us, and we know that the Bible says it. clear as day, but people don't operate like that.
No, they don't.
God is in you. Trust your gut, your instincts. Because I knew I was supposed to be standing right there. I said something about the book, and he sat down and immediately started talking to me. Just like that. And then we exchanged numbers. He invited us to Santa Barbara the next day. We didn't go because my mama was with us. But it was just, I knew. And then I had a conversation with him the other day, and I can't talk about his full plans.
Sure.
But it's so in alignment with what I knew was the next step for me that it was crazy. Yeah. It was crazy to have a conversation with somebody that sees me so clearly. He was like, I don't know, you just have that spark. I know. I just know. And so the next projects that I'm working on, because I kept saying, how am I going to do TV? How am I, how was I going to do this?
Yeah.
But I went because I was invited. I was nominated. I still don't know how I got nominated. I don't know who submitted me. And then I went to this party that I was like, should we even be going? Because it's, it's this and that. And I get to this place, and the next step was like there.
Wow. No, that's crazy.
That's my
do it scared. Do it scared. I think we got the title for the episode right there. Do it scared. Do it scared. Well, man, it's been such a pleasure just to get to know you online and finally kind of get to know you a little bit in person. I'm looking forward to everything that God has in store for both of us. Even with the Visionaries brunch coming up, I'm excited to be on that panel.
Yes, April 27th.
Come on, April 27th. Yes, That's right. So make sure y'all tap in, because we're not revealing the location until you register, right? It's that exclusive.
It's that exclusive. The guest list is limited. Only, like you said, if Visionaries, those that are not scared when somebody tells you this is going to be terrifying, but you're still going to take that knowledge and run with it.
Yeah, we only want folks showing up that got that gut sense that says, man, it's something I got to be there.
I got to be there. You're going to know.
And one thing, before we go, one thing that I've learned just from talking to you is, closed mouth don't get fed. Okay. Like, even showing up and being in these rooms, I still see a level of initiative of like you just, sitting down, talking to folks, and this person leads you to that person. Yeah. And it's funny because, and I know we got to wrap up, but, growing up as a dad, people always, teach their kids, don't talk to strangers. Don't talk to strangers. And I don't know, I used to I get that, right?
As a kid.
Like, don't talk to strangers in white vans trying to give you candy. Yeah. Like, don't talk to those strangers, right? But I never wanted my kids to be scared of strangers, because strangers are the one who got your money. I was always
that's literally what he said. He said, you need to be around money. That's what the man said to me while we were sitting right there. I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because you need to
I want my kids to be able to spark up a conversation with they don't know and make it intriguing enough to people want to do business with them.
Exactly.
Or that's where opportunity lies. All right, cool, man. Well, this has been a blast. June, I'm super, super grateful. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. But of course, for everybody out there who may not be following you already, like, how can we stay tapped in? Because you got a lot of stuff going on, man.
A lot. I think for most of my things you can see on Instagram at the June Reese with 2 underscores. But also TikTok. Like I said, that's where all my intrusive thoughts go.
So that's where we get. Yeah,
that's where you get.
That sounds like where I need to be following you. That's what I want to see.
Come over there too.
I like the polished stuff, but
that's my favorite. I'm obsessed with TikTok right now. You can't tell me nothing about TikTok. But definitely Instagram. I also have my website. If you sign up for updates for the Visionaries Brunch, you'll end up on my email list. Because again, there's a lot coming this year. I mean, some of the conversations I've had, it's only March or it's April.
Is it?
It's literally April 1st. Today.
Yes.
So some of the conversations I've had to start this year off, like the rest of this year is gonna be wild.
Yeah. So I love it. We'll definitely make sure y'all tap in, stay locked in. We'll make sure all of our contact information is in the description below. And of course, I gotta say it. Make sure you comment, subscribe. We appreciate all that good stuff. But more importantly, regardless of where you are in your life, if anything has been said that tapped in with you, that you felt in your gut, like, we want to hear about that. We want to be a part of that journey. That's the reason why we do this, right? You want to learn more about how to develop a relationship with Jesus. Like, we're here for that. You need to get plugged in with a local church. We here for that. You need to get resources on depression and anxiety, suicide prevention. We got all of that. We here for you. So anyway, we love y'all. June, we love you. Trey, my dog, we love you too, bro. We appreciate you for coming out. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been phenomenal. We'll see y'all next week.